What's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Stigler. I'm a pro footballer performance coach, and today I'm going to take you through a total body workout routine that I do for myself, for my athletes. It's going to include upper body, lower body, abs. We're going to get into it here. And you know what? This may be one of the only videos that you see today on social media where someone is not actively trying to sell you something. And the best part about this routine is I actually recorded this exact workout probably like 5 days ago, but I realized that number one, my mic wasn't working, and I was like, oh, you know what, whatever. Audio quality isn't exactly gonna be perfect. But then I realized for like half the video, the camera wasn't lined up and my head was completely cut off. I'm probably like top 5 worst influencers of all time, along with Logan Paul, for completely different reasons. But anyway, let's get into it. So with this routine today, I am going to, for the first time, give you guys the actual sets and reps of things. And the reason that I am going to do that today is because I don't necessarily always think it's valuable to give you sets and reps of things because, you know, if you follow me on my other social media platforms, you've heard me talk about high stim exercises, medium and low stim. And the big thing with all these exercises is so many of them actually do have overlap into multiple categories. So because of that, like I could tell you that I'm doing this one exercise and I could tell you I'm doing it for 3 sets of 8, but I could also do that same exercise, maybe. Some exercises really don't overlap, but I could do that same exercise maybe for like 1 set of 20 another day, or I could do it for 3 sets of 3, you know? So some exercises do overlap a lot. So I don't want you to think, oh, Matt did this exercise for 2 sets of 8. I need to do it for 2 sets of 8 as well, because we may have completely different goals. And at the same time, I think that people don't really realize that they may need to progress these exercises, or that they do need to progress these exercises over the weeks and months and years of their training. Like if you just did 3 sets of 8 every day for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, you wouldn't actually make any progress. Or maybe you would, but you would peak out and you would level out really quickly. Whereas if you actually understand how to progress exercises through sets, reps, different modalities of styling and structuring your workouts, different variations of the actual same exercise, then you'd be in a better spot. And hopefully that's what I'm here to teach you guys. So anyway, let's get into it. First exercise here, you're gonna see why we're doing this, but we're gonna do a dead hang on a squat rack. So the reason we're doing it on a squat rack is because we can actually use the feet to support us here. So the closer my feet are to my body, the easier this is gonna be. It's gonna be the easiest dead hang variation. If we want to make this a little bit harder, we can kick the feet out. Now, if we want to make this even a little bit harder, and this is a variation I'll be going with today, is we're going to do shoulder taps from here, okay? So we're here, shoes are nice and slippery. There we go, 1, 2. So if I want to make this harder, move the feet out an inch. You can see them wobbling a bit more. Also going to be easier for you to stabilize yourself the closer your hands are together. Whew. When you do this exercise, you might feel a ton of forearms working, and that is a big part of this. But at the same time, you're working on stabilizing your trunk, you're working on resisting rotations while in an overhead position. For footballers, this is a good position to work out in because it puts the abs on stretch, which is not a strong position. So it's just a way of us working our total body, or really from the torso and above, in a way that is unique and will allow for us to really be stronger in challenges on the pitch and allow for us to do a bunch of different things when we find ourselves in weird positions on the pitch. Next one. So if you follow me on my other social media accounts, you have seen me talk about this exercise ad nauseum in the past like week or so. And the reason for this is because personally for me, I don't really love like Jefferson curls, but this is a variation of a Jefferson curl that I've found to be really useful for me. So here's how we're gonna do it. And by the way, before I even get into this, you'll see that that exercise right there and this exercise right here, when you pair them together in the warm-up, are going to complement the main exercise that we have today really well. When it comes to warming up, that's like the main thing that I think people get wrong, is I think there are really like 2 to 3 efficient ways of warming up. The way that we're doing right here is you pick 1 to 3 exercises that really like mimic the movement pattern really well. So like this exercise right here is going to create spinal flexion, which is the rounding of the spine. That exercise that we just did with the shoulder taps is going to work to lengthen the overhead position while also getting our upper body warm to do some type of movement. You will see that both of these things are really important when it comes to our first like main lift of the day. All right, so here's this exercise. What you're gonna do, you're gonna set up kneeling on a bench. From here, I'm going to tuck the chin as much as I can. I'm gonna round the upper back, around the mid back, shift my butt back to my heels, getting as low as I can, breathing in, breathing out, returning to the top. So when you are first starting out with this exercise, definitely want to go light, as loaded flexion is probably not a position a lot of you are used to. So like I was kind of talking about initially, this is one of those exercises that really can go either way. Like you could do this as a low stim example, and you could just rep this out for like 20 reps. You could do this as medium stim and hit it anywhere between 8 to 12. You could even do this as high stim after you accumulate some volume and get used to this. Definitely don't start off with it as a high stim exercise and try and hit like a max set of 5 on this. But you can load this one heavy. Like there's absolutely no reason why you can't. Don't be afraid to move. The floral mat is out, baby. Here we go. You know, I usually say that people that work out in sweats and everything, I really don't think that those people, I'm not convinced that they work hard. Maybe that's just because I sweat a ridiculous amount. So wearing sweats in the gym is just like insane to me. But right now, it's like the end of April and it's like 40 degrees outside in Chicago. And I'm working out in my client's gym, garage gym. So based on the goals of the session today, this is going to be my main lift. And the reason for that is because for someone like me, my weak points is not going to be something like max strength. So you may see these other workout routines on social media where someone's main lift would be like a barbell bench, a barbell deadlift, a trap bar deadlift, a front squat, anything like that. Something that is more like systemically fatiguing, globally fatiguing, and that's completely fine depending on what your goals are. But for someone like me who's trying to become more athletic on the pitch, who's trying to become more mobile, who's trying to improve in other ways like my conditioning and my capacity, those lifts for me are already the thing I'm absolutely the best at. Like max strength, max speed, those are not things that I need to be really working on so much as mobility, fluidity, spinal movements, ab rotation, different hip positions, and getting strong in deep, weird positions. Those are the things that for me, I need to work on. And because of that, I'm gonna do this session and I'm gonna do an exercise that isn't like that fatiguing. But just because I'm doing that doesn't mean you need to do that. So if you're watching this at home and you aren't that strong with the barbells, you could do the same exact session. You could just throw in a heavy compound at the very start. So you could do your warm-ups and then you could hit a trap bar deadlift and then you could come into this exercise. It's completely fine. All right, so for this exercise, we'll be working in a deep seated position. So the knee is above the hip. Because of that, that's going to create flexion in the spine, just like the warm-up exercise that we did before. Then from there, I'm going to separate my knees just a little bit just so I can get some range of motion. I'm going to make sure that those toes are still facing forward and I keep an even distribution of weight across the foot from the heel to directly under the big toe to directly under the pinky toe. Then from here, I'm going to let this cable pull me forward, letting the cable win, creating as much flexion as I can, breathing in, breathing out and pulling. Flexion of the spine, extension of the spine, chest high. Boom. Whew. So that's an upper body pull exercise that's going to create a bit more mobility. If I want to do that in a more compressive, more strength-based manner for someone who was a bit weaker, I could just do like a barbell bent over row or a barbell single arm row. Anyway, because I already did this exercise the other day, I know that with this exercise for me, I'm going to need to elevate the hand on something. So we're in a half kneeling position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down into a windmill. I'll show you here. So arm is overhead. Come down into a windmill, find that hand, rotate and side bend, then breathe in, bring that elbow behind you, breathe out, breathe in, out. Oh God, okay. You know what I just realized? I haven't been giving you guys sets and reps this entire time. Bad habits die hard, man. So I'll hopefully just put them on the screen as we go, but with that shoulder tap, I did sets of 15 each side. With the flexion exercise, I was doing sets of 10. With the row, I was doing sets of 8 to 12. And then with this, I'm doing sets of 8 to 15. Nice and big range. The reason why it's so high rep is because the lower rep we go, the more compressive it's gonna be, the more internal pressure you're going to put on your body. And that's just gonna work on, stabilizing the spine, stabilizing the pelvis, keeping things rigid. It's not good or bad, but again, for me and my goals, since I am a stiffer footballer, for a while I'm gonna be avoiding the heavier stuff, just because again, that's what I'm already good at. That's not what I'm trying to do. For some of you, you may sprinkle it in a little bit, even if you're a stiffer footballer. But for me, I am so stiff, and I think the gap between strength and mobility for me is so huge that I'm fine just completely cutting that stuff out. Maybe you are too, or maybe you're just sprinkling some sets, I don't know. Other side, here we go. This side's my better side. So when I'm doing this exercise, what we're actually doing is we're getting strong in a weird position, and we're working a lot of spinal movement. So when I'm in this windmill, I'm rotating and laterally flexing to find the ground. I'm in an offset position with the hips, so we are working some hip and pelvis mobility. And then because I'm in the sideline position, my rib cage is expanding in a unique way as I get some shoulder extension as well. So there's a ton of different things happening in this movement. Similar to the Copenhagen side plank variation we did last week, except this, for me, I found gets me even a little bit more rotation. What I'll probably do is shift and just rotate a bunch of exercises that do very similar things in a pressing style over the weeks and months. So for this exercise, we're going to do a front foot elevated reverse lunge with hip shift and rotational leg drive. So I'm here, boom, like that, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lunge back. I'm gonna rotate the plate. Dumbbell, you could use any type of weight that you want towards that front side. Then I'm gonna lunge up, driving the opposite leg up, press this weight overhead, okay? As I rotate towards the side, I wanna make sure that this knee doesn't go out to the side. There we go, make sure you maintain your balance. By making sure that knee doesn't go out to the side, you're gonna be creating relative movement instead of absolute throughout the pelvis, which is gonna be more beneficial for hip mobility. Boom. Wanna really make sure as I drive this leg up, then I wanna do the same thing as I rotate towards that side. Don't wanna let that leg kick out. Whew. Oh God. I made a post yesterday that was just talking about the classic phrase that people always say where nothing athletic happens on your heels. And I just find it so funny just because I posted a video of Jude Bellingham from the goal that he had against City. And like almost every single step he took in this video, he was landing on his heels because he's decelerating. It's just this really weird thing that like the fascia boys and strength coaches that aren't that knowledgeable don't understand that every part of your foot is designed to do something. If I'm decelerating or braking, I need to step my foot in front of me. And of course, I'm gonna hit it with my heel because I need that negative shin angle to slow me down. That is where front foot elevated split squats come in. Because what this does is this actually shifts me back. So right now, I'm in a neutral shin angle to potentially even a little bit negative, and I can drop down, maintaining contact and most of the weight on my heel, and I can train this position. Whereas if I flip it and I'm here, this weight actually pushes me forward. Then I come down, I have a positive shin angle, my knee's driving over my toe. That works more acceleration. Way harder to explain this while doing an exercise, but hopefully that makes sense. Now listen, I know I've heard the people asking, oh Matt, do you even train legs? Oh Matt, look at your calves, you got a problem. Yes, I train legs, and here is proof. So for those of you that have problems with single leg RDLs, this is gonna be a really good exercise for you. What you're gonna do is you're gonna set up on a bench like this, and you wanna make sure your knees are at relatively similar heights. So because this bench is a little bit short, we've elevated it with this block here. You can use a yoga block, you can use a pad, you can use whatever. Then what you're going to do is you're gonna set up like a single leg RDL, but this knee is actually gonna support you so you can balance. So we're gonna get a slight bend in this knee, and just like an RDL, I'm just gonna push both my hips back. Big stretch in the back leg of whichever leg is on the ground. I'm gonna come up to the top. I'll show you on this side so you can see a little bit better. But we're here, slight bend, hips back, back, stand up tall. I want to make sure I'm reaching my hips back behind me while pretend that there's a wall behind me. I'm trying to touch my butt to that back wall while keeping my chest high. I only go back as far as I can until I feel like my hips aren't going back anymore and my spine is rounding a little bit. So this is actually a really good exercise for those people that have muscular imbalances and want to work them, but maybe struggle with that single leg balanced position, because this is going to support you right here. It's going to act just like a single leg RDL, except we're just perfectly stable, and I still really am only working this one leg at a time, except I don't have to worry so much about balance, and because of that, I'm going to be able to load this one a little bit heavier. And for this exercise, similar to the rest of them, I'm doing 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 15 reps. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for bearing through these angled shots of me exercising and yapping to you guys. I know this is a little bit quicker one. I have a session right after this. I am an actual strength coach. I don't just do social media, so sometimes we gotta be a little bit quicker with things. But yeah, let me know what you guys want to see next. If you guys enjoy this, please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe. Please support the channel, because, you know, if the channel does well, I'll keep these videos coming, may even do more of them, may get you better content, so hopefully I can help you guys even more. But if no one watches, probably gonna stop doing this, probably gonna do something else. So thank you guys very much for watching. As always, I appreciate it.